The WOKEPOCALYPSE continues and has claimed another victim, this time Stranger Things. It's the latest to have bet big on a fad that's more than faded out. Will Byers says he doesn't like girls. But it turns out audiences don't like the not-so-modern message pushed on them anymore.
I don't like girls.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we continue to dive into what you need to know, explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. And today, we are here to give a great gift to those who don't understand why the latest and penultimate Stranger Things episode is so unpopular. Yes, it is now ranked as the lowest in terms of audience reception in the history of the show, the lowest performing episode in terms of ratings. Now, I'm here to tell you, folks, and when I say ratings, I mean rankings of like, did you enjoy it or not? It's terribly low. Now, the ratings here are not going to matter, and I just want to put that out there for everybody to understand, okay? Because the finale, people are going to tune into it. They're invested for the past 5 years or 10 years or however long they've been making these things since these adults were kids. People are going to watch this. It's not about the ratings for this last episode. You're going to see that all across the interwebs and people dweebs saying, hey, it's got the best ratings ever, so you guys keep crying. It's not about that. Netflix knows everybody's going to tune in for that show. And the reason is they want to see how it wraps up. But they've essentially now hijacked it. The Duffer Brothers have essentially now hijacked the show with a penultimate episode that is just utterly and totally ridiculous, and I'll explain why. But we're going to give a gift, folks. We're going to tell you why this didn't work and why even those who are of the persuasion that they would typically love this kind of stuff, even they've had enough. Before we dive in, click the like button, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts, and we'll get to it. Folks, the reason the ratings are not going to matter for the final is because what Netflix needs to do is parlay this into an ongoing spin-off, sequel series, get a character and hang on to them. They've got to find a way, do a cartoon about this. They've got to find a way to keep their biggest show going. And this is throwing them off. And so if you have a Game of Thrones style finale, if you have a season that people just are so displeased with, then it damages the brand going forward. And it actually retroactively damages the show back all the way to season 1. And honestly, this show at this point, go watch season 1 and go watch season 5. They don't exist in the same universe. And that is part of what has caused this. Now, when the first season came out, we were not deeply into the woke era, at least not at the time that they were going into the development of it. As compared to when this season comes out, remember that they were planning this, shooting this, developing this before the election. And that means that they believe they were coming out to a very woke time in the history of the planet. This was going to be a victory dance for woke, and that's why this doesn't exist in the same place.
I don't like girls.
Marcus Pittman says, Season 5, Episode 7 of Stranger Things felt like a gay version of a PureFlix movie. The left has embraced the worst things about faith-based movies. They have altar calls that interrupt the story. Quote, but who cares if it costs $200 million as long as one person is saved from bigotry? That is exactly right. And that is why people are waking up to this, and they've had enough. This is yet another victim of the WOKEPOCALYPSE, where people know the pendulum has shifted. You were not allowed to call this out even 2 years ago. You'd be banned from social media, but now you can. And it turns out that deep inside, even the people who agree with the message, they can't stand this stuff. In much the same way that if you have a faith-based film that is just so syrupy and sappy, even those who wish it was good will say, no, it's not. It's plastic. It's inauthentic. It doesn't feel right, right? Now, where did Stranger Things go wrong, ladies and gentlemen? What has caused it to go so far off the reservation? Well, the answer to that is very simple. I'm going to give you 4 steps so you can know why even the people who want to agree with this, internally, they don't like it. The first reason is because you have to live within your world's rules that you've built. Stranger Things was authentically 80s in the first season and also in the second season. It starts to get into cartoon territory by season 3, but it really tried to be authentically 80s before that. Now, these characters are authentically Portland in 2023. That's what they've done to this. And that means that it no longer feels like it's inside the same universe, and it no longer feels like it's taking place in the time and space it's supposed to exist. It feels like we've jumped the shark, right? You all know that expression. When Fonzie jumps the shark, Happy Days has officially changed to something inauthentic, and Stranger Things has gone there. Now, one of the ways that you know that, and I'll go to the second reason that Stranger Things is falling apart so harshly, all the characters already knew that Robin, another character, is gay. There was already a coming out episode, and the characters didn't respond in the way that you would expect 80s characters to respond. We can debate whether you should do that or not do that. We can talk about whether or not there should be some characters who are conflicted over this, as would have been the case in the 80s when we had the epidemic that was taking place and people didn't know what was going on or who to blame or what was. Folks, we can talk about all that. But we've already seen in this show that when Robin comes out, none of the characters are pushed away by that whatsoever. So that narrative decision has already been made and that hurdle has already been jumped. So then to set this entire thing up as if, oh my gosh, Will Byers, it's already been done. So then to try to leap that even more, you've already broken the glass ceiling on it. You can't unbreak the glass ceiling and then say, oh, well, we've never done this before. You already have. And that means there's no tension at all. What are we supposed to expect, that all of a sudden they're going to suddenly switch to the other side of this belief system, which, by the way, would have been a very small number of people in the 80s, again, taking us out of that authenticity. Here's another thing, talking about that modern message. John Root has this. The girl bossing in Stranger Things Season 5 is another example of how this show has fallen off. Nancy Wheeler, who is 5'0" and 90 pounds soaking wet, is like a Navy SEAL and John Wick combined, taking out highly trained military personnel. She also broke up with her boyfriend because she don't need no man and needs to be independent so she can find herself. Mrs. Wheeler is also portrayed as a certified BA that can fight against a freaking Demogorgon with just a wine bottle. Robin's character has been elevated to main character for the rainbow representation, only randomly having more answers to the problems the group faces than most of the boys. Eleven's sister is a total waste of a character that serves the purpose of causing a rift between her and the men that care for her the most. The Duffer Brothers, Netflix have diminished great foundational male characters so they can elevate women. That's right. Because, well, when they were developing this, they wanted to make this be something different. I mean, this looks like a parody. This is the girl who was semi-taken advantage of by one of the other characters in season 1 and needed to find her way in being a stronger person, right? She's also, remember, she's the friend of Barb, and she's dealing with the guilt of Barbara. What happened to her? Well, she's Rambo now. She's Rambo. So, I mean, this isn't real. And here's the thing about it, right? So you can sniff this out. And she's actually modeled in the hair to be Rambo. Now, the problem with trying to do that is that when you do so, you move people into a place where they just sniff out. This is not narratively possible. This is not possible within the character development. And I'll give you a psychological understanding of this, okay? Let's say that you grew up in the lower middle class, okay? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. We're going to do this as a hypothetical. The psychological research tells us that you are likely, although not limited, but likely to only be able to move 2 deviations from that and live inside a comfortable existence, okay? Psychologically. So if you grew up in the lower middle class and you move up to the middle class or the upper middle class, you're okay. You understand those worlds. And if you go to the upper lower class or the middle of the lower class, you're still okay. Now, obviously, you don't want to move down the socioeconomic strata, but, you can make it. However, if you're lower middle class and you win a giant lottery ticket and suddenly you're in the top 0.1%, that is going to be psychologically difficult for you to do. It's hard to adapt to that. And also, if you were born extremely rich and you become extremely poor, that is difficult to deal with. It's difficult to handle. The same is true, by the way, amongst a wide variety of genres of your life. There are so many different avenues of who you are and how you exist. And we innately know that when we watch characters as well. And so if you move a character too far away from what they were in the beginning, then guess what? People have a strong distaste for that because it puts them into a psychological uncanny valley where they just can't buy it anymore. So when you have all these characters, by the way, join Will in a sunset atmosphere to listen to him cry while the world's about to end so that he can say that he doesn't like girls, that feels so strongly unrealistic to the audience that they can't stand it. In the same way that if Bruce Willis were to have been there on the rock on Armageddon, and right before it's going to destroy the world, he decides that's the time to come out of the closet, that wouldn't work, right? In fact, you would roll your eyes and throw your hands up and say, who wrote this trash? Also, if William Wallace is sitting there getting ready to be beheaded and he just says, you know what, I need to take a moment before this happens. I need to tell you all about my proclivity for wearing women's undergarments. And if the entire crowd getting ready to watch him lose his head suddenly weeps and sobs at his bravery, his security as a man to be able to do that, you all would throw your hands up, you throw your popcorn at the screen and say, who wrote this garbage? It's too ham-fisted, it's too much. That's the altar call, right? That is the misplaced altar call inside the narrative that goes too far. That's what happens. And that's why now, folks, you have these going trending where Huff for Congress says, I asked Grok to rewrite the Will Byers coming out scene to better reflect the 1980s time period. I don't endorse this. It is funny in some ways. Folks, go watch it. But these are everywhere, and AI is giving people the opportunity. I wish this had been available when Last Jedi came out. Oh, the ravaging that would have happened to round-headed Rian Johnson. I'll give you a couple more things, okay? 2 more reasons why scientifically, psychologically, this was predictable. Everybody should have known this would fail. If only you understand audiences, which is to say, if only you understand the human psyche. You cannot, this is the third point. First point was you have to live within your world's rules. The second was you've already done this, so you can't re-break the glass ceiling. Third is you can't betray the narrative authenticity for the message. Discerning fans sniff out when a religious, state-sponsored, or ideological message moment happens, and they don't like it. Have you ever been watching a movie or a show or playing a game when suddenly everybody just stops and exposition happens and they say something that's so just overtly propagandistic, which is, by the way, what that scene is with Will, right? It is taking many, many minutes of time out of the adventure to do this virtue signal moment. It is akin to if you were watching North Korean propaganda, for example. If you were watching that and you're watching this thing, and then all of a sudden it stops and the characters just enter into a monologue about, we must defeat evil Americans because they will destroy the entire world. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And then the narrative continues, right? It's like a PSA. It's like a public service announcement embedded into the message, into the show. And people who are discerning, who have a maturity about it, they sniff that out. They're like, wait a minute, this doesn't have anything to do with the plot. This is a reinforcement. Without it, like, you were so lazy that you didn't embed the moral into the story in a way that we can digest. Instead, you just said, pause, we're going to overtly lay this out to you so that you have to engage with this. Just totally, here it is, these are the instructions, here's the guide, here's the manual, read it, and then we'll resume the story when we're done. And that's a problem. Finally, the kid who portrays a child identifying in this way now in the show, and basically was since season 1, everybody knew this. That kid actor became in that same way as his role in real life. And in the show now, it's depicted that this child was portrayed or was treated poorly, and that may have played some part in where we are today with his character. It's not just Stranger Things featuring the upside down. It's that the writers are upside down. They can't keep their virtue signal figured out. This is getting into some strange territory. And when your actor is a child who portrayed something and then became that something, and then you give background into that something for the character, and the actor is following along all of that, and it's starting to become a case where I can't tell where the actor begins and when the character ends. Like, I can't tell where any of this is. Then you've made an uncomfortable psychological situation for the audience to watch, where the audience says, wait a minute, did you pre-position this actor? What is going on here? What is happening here? I'm not saying that happened, but it makes one wonder, did you create an identity out of a character that this actor is so highly and totally associated with, and children have a hard time differentiating. Even if it's not the case, this needs to be emphasized, okay? Even if there's nothing to that, even if that had zero effect on the child actor, the audience will always wonder about it. And because the audience will always wonder about it, the audience is going to feel very uncomfortable, odd. They're going to feel a little off-put when you show that character being mistreated in ways that have that tint to it inside this show. It all leads to a place where we say, something just doesn't feel right about this. And I have a feeling there are a lot of people saying right now, something doesn't feel right about this when it comes to Stranger Things. Because this show is nothing anymore like it was in season 1. And that's because it had to be sacrificed for the message. There's just one problem. The message is no longer being received by audiences. And that means Stranger Things is no longer being received. Can they fix this in the finale? It's tough now. It's tough. And again, viewership won't matter because everybody is already embedded. They already have the desire to see how this ends because they watched it for years and years and years. But if they walk away utterly dissatisfied, as they did with this penultimate episode, then you can say bye-bye to the chances for success in spin-offs, continuations, additional characters, carrying the story along, animation, all that goes out the door if this one is a bore because of the wokepocalypse. All right, folks, we've explained it. Now you can understand it. Now those out there, especially who are saying, I don't know why I don't like this. I'm supposed to like this, but secretly I don't. Now we've explained so that you all can avoid it. Future Hollywood writers, now you know. Folks, click the like button, drop a comment down below, and click the like button. Folks, click the like button, drop a comment down below, and share this out if you want more of the Pro Channel. Like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. Folks, we'd love to hear your thoughts on all this one. And until the next time, we have the honor, the privilege, the pleasure of spending time together. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, even in the upside down, keep having fun.
I just found out how to get WDW Pro's information. Where he gets his sources. I can't believe he uses Wilton!
What?
We got a job to do. It's easy to hack into WDW Pro's computer.
You're kidding me. That's awesome. You know any other stuff?
Yeah, just Jonas Campbell told me.
Sweet.
Said Pro underpaid him or something.
A few minutes later.
There. Oh, awesome. Whatever. All I gotta do is hack into this thing. It's gonna be so easy.
Yeah, this isn't
All
a
right,
hack.
grab this picture over here.
Leave it to me.
No, Wilson.
Job done. What?
No, all we had to do was use the picture because he uses face unlock. Now we gotta go to thatparplace.com and sub to him and his team on YouTube.
Oh, well, I already did that because I'm smart.